Okay, so in lesson 16, we're going to look at the mouse input now. But it's more than just that in lesson 16. I think the big thing actually is using the if-else statement. So in the past, we've learned about the if statement. If something happens, we're going to, if a condition happens and it's true, we tell the program to do something. In this case, we're going to use if-else. If something happens, then we do something. But if that doesn't happen, we're going to do something else. We are, of course, going to be learning about mouse input as well as a variety of other type of user inputs. So let's kind of dive into this and let's look at the practice. So here we're at bubble 8, A. This ladybug should only move when the mouse is near the bottom of the screen. You're going to use a conditional to make sure the ladybug only moves when the mouse is near the bottom of the screen. So let's actually run this before and just kind of see what happens and what it means. It looks like, okay, we have a scene with a ladybug. We're using outside for the scene, and the bug is the ladybug. Now we're going to make an if statement. Use an if block to check whether the position of the mouse, and we're going to use world.mousey, is below a certain point. Okay, if that happens, we're going to use the counter pattern to increase bug x to make it move. The bug should only move if the mouse pointer is near the bottom of the screen. So in this first bubble, we're learning more about the mouse input, specifically world.mousey. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this. So what we're going to do is we're going to use the if statement. And we're actually going to do that before we draw the sprites. Okay, so what are we going to check? If world.mouse is below a certain point, or world.mousey, so we're going to go ahead and use a conditional. And remember, when we're talking about the y, the higher the y value, the lower we are. Okay, I know it's kind of hard to see, but the bottom is 400, the y is 400, the top y is 0. So what we're going to do is we're going to say, okay, well, if y is greater than, we can use greater than or equal to. It's really up to you. Let's just kind of use greater than or equal to, I guess, since we haven't done that well. It doesn't tell us a specific number, but just says it below a certain point. So let's say maybe if it's below, I don't know, I'm going to look at the y down here, and let's say maybe below 325. Okay, so where my cursor is, if it's below this, then the ladybug's gonna move. So we're gonna go ahead and use the world.mousey. Where's it? Right here. So world.mousey, which is where our mouse cursor is. If our mouse y is greater than or equal, we said 325, then what do we want to happen? We want the bug to move. So we're gonna use the counter pattern to make the bug move. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to move it to the left, actually. So I'm actually going to use subtraction, not addition. Where do you go? Let's try. Okay, so whoops, I'm sorry. I don't use the blocks too much. It looks like we actually want to set the x property. Sorry. Actually should be the y property. So we want sprite.y, and we're changing the bug's property. So I'm gonna, sorry, no, it is x. We're changing the bug's x property, so bug.x, because we want it to move horizontally, specifically to the left. Okay, and we're gonna use the counter pattern. Now we can use this. Again, sorry, I don't use the blocks often. I usually just use the text. We're gonna do bug.x minus, I don't know, let's say minus 3. I'm gonna go ahead and run this. And again, when my cursor is above 325, or less than 325, it doesn't move. When it's greater than 325, it starts moving. Okay, so it looks like our code now works. Let's take a look at B. Ghost moving with the mouse. In this level, we're going to make the ghost move either left or right depending on the position of the mouse pointer. In the example shown, if the mouse cursor is on the left, the ghost is going to move left. If it's on the right side, it's going to move to the right. We're going to write 2 if statements to check the location of the mouse. And we're going to make the ghost move in a different location for each mouse location. Okay, so let's go ahead and take out, I like to just run the code first actually before I even look at the code. So of course we have the background outside and we have the ghost. And it looks like the ghost isn't moving, so we're going to help that by writing 2 if statements to check the location of the mouse. And then so we're going to make it move in the location of the mouse. So if you look at the example, again, if the mouse is on the left, the ghost moves to the left. If the mouse cursor is on the right, it moves to the right. Okay, so, and if we notice, if it's kind of in the middle, the ghost doesn't move. So we're going to use 2 conditionals. This first one, of course, if we look at the code, we have the draw function, and this first set of code is getting us started to move the ghost to the left, right? We're subtracting 5. So I'm going to use the conditional if, okay, if what happens, if to check the mouse location, if our mouse location is to the left side, and again, the left side is the X value. Maybe let's just say if it's anywhere in between this range, between maybe 0 and 100. Okay, I'm looking right down here at the 100. If it's on the left side, it's going to move to the left. If it's on the right side, meaning 300 or more, it's going to move to the right. So I'm going to say if our mouse location is less than, okay, so if our world.mouse x is less than 100, what do we want to happen? We want the ghost to move to the left. Okay, so that's the left. If now we're going to do the same thing but to the right, if the mouse location is, oops, I should have used the inequality operator. If the mouse is mouse x, our mouse cursor is greater than, say, 300, the ghost is going to move to the right. Okay, so if I test this, okay, left, right. If it's in the middle, remember, if it's in the middle, nothing happens because it doesn't fit either of these conditionals. If it's on the left, it moves left. If it's on the right, it moves right. Okay, so that's 8b. We're actually going to quickly take a look at number 4 too. This is getting us started with the else statement, and none of the practice actually had it. We're going to get more practice later. But I think it helps to kind of look at one together right now. And again, this is bubble 4. These gears already spin in one direction when you press the space bar. Now you want to spin the other direction when the space bar isn't pressed. So what we mean is if I press space bar right here, if I hold it down, I'm holding it down, it moves. If I let go, nothing happens, right? It's not moving. But what we want to do is actually move it or spin it the opposite way when the space bar is not being pressed. So what I'm going to do is we're going to look at the code again. We have the 3 gears, okay, have the background. If we press space, again, if we hold down space or press space, it's rotating one way. We want it so that when I let go of the space bar, like I just did, we want it to actually turn the other way. So we're going to add the else part. I'm going to click on this plus sign. Okay, else. So if this happens, if we press space, we're going to rotate one direction, or else we're actually going to rotate the other direction. So I'm going to do this quickly, and what I'm going to do actually, I'm just going to kind of copy this. You see how I selected the whole thing? I press Control C, Command C if you're on a Mac. I'm just going to click right here. I'm clicking down, and I'm going to paste Control V. Oops, guess that didn't work. I'm just going to actually just drag it down. So we copied it. However, let's take a look. So right now, it's turning because I'm not pressing space, but even if I hold space, it's still turning the same way. And that's because we wanted to turn the other direction. So here, the blue one, I wanted to add 1, subtract 1, and subtract 1. I'm actually just going to go to show text. I don't have to redo all the blocks. It's a lot faster for me to do it this way. So I'm going to do plus minus, and minus. I'm just doing the opposite of what we had before. So now if I reset and run, okay, so again, I'm not pressing anything, so it goes one way, but as soon as I press spacebar, it goes the other way. That's the benefit of the if and else statement.